And let's bring in our good friend, Democratic strategist Robin Byro. He's on the ground there in Georgia. He's also a former Obama regional campaign field director. And our other good friend, Republican strategist and Reagan campaign alum, Clarence McKee. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you.
All right, Robin, let me start with you. You're on the ground there in Georgia. How do you think this is going to wind up? Does Kemp hold on and wind up the governor of Georgia, or does Abrams have a point here? Does she have a valid claim on this seat?
So I looked at the numbers just before this segment, and right now she would need to pick up 24,379 votes for this to go to a runoff election, because in Georgia you have to get 50% plus one. So right now she's really close to closing in on that margin, specifically because DeKalb County, Gwinnett County, and Cobb County, which are all in Metro Atlanta, of course, poll heavily blue, and they have a large portion of early voting and absentee voting that have remaining to be counted. And in Gwinnett County alone, there's over 30,000 ballots that haven't been counted yet. So she's probably within striking distance of meeting her goal headed toward that runoff. The question really at the end of the day is, will she survive the runoff? Personally, I don't think so. As a Democrat, I'd like to be optimistic on this, but I think that Republicans will coalesce around Brian Kemp, who may have held their nose around him because he was pretty unpopular Secretary of State here, and but I think they're going to hold their nose and basically vote for him if it goes to a runoff.
What about the red counties, though, Robin, in Georgia? Do they still have outstanding absentee and early voting ballots to count? And will that offset those blue county numbers?
Yeah, let me address that. There are four red counties right now: Chatham, Henry, Douglasville, and Clark. Those are all very small populated counties. We have over 131 counties here in the state of Georgia. Right. But the bulk of the Democratic votes, of course, come from Metro Atlanta and Savannah and Augusta. So, you know, those four small Republican red counties aren't going to be enough to stop, in my opinion, a recount, or excuse me, a runoff.
I'm a big fan of electoral math, so it makes sense to me. Okay, Clarence, what do you say? You've been around many campaigns in your career. What do you think of Robin's analysis?
I think he did a great job with that analysis, particularly on her chances in a runoff. If there's a runoff, I don't think our friend Obama or Oprah are going to run back down to Georgia and try to help run a runoff. In fact, it might backfire. I think the secretary is going to be the next governor. And he's right also about these votes that are outstanding. You said 34,000 she needs? Well, we'll see. That's a lot of votes.
All right, let's talk about President. Oh, I'm sorry, Robin. Go ahead. Respond to that.
It's 24,379.
Wow.
And like I said, we've got 30,000 outstanding in Gwinnett, which is mostly Democratic, but within striking distance, we'll just call it.
Do you think she'll bring in Obama if she goes to a runoff?
No, I agree with your analysis there. I don't think that Obama can save her. He didn't save really anyone in the midterms. If you look at everywhere that he went, basically, let's just call a spade a spade. He really didn't help anyone.
Be careful, be careful.
Yeah, Robin. Yeah. Clarence.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it right there. All right, let's talk about last night. So, Clarence, my analysis all morning on social media has been, it was a good night for the White House. Barack Obama lost 6 Senate seats in his first midterm. Donald Trump picked up 3 so far. Florida's going to a runoff, or not a runoff, rather a recount. Barack Obama also, got some numbers here, lost 63 House seats in his first midterm, and the very popular Bill Clinton lost 53.
50, that's right.
In his first midterm, Donald Trump only lost 26. And gentlemen, the historic average is around 37. 26 governorships. The Republicans held a majority in governorships. And state legislatures stayed red. In the press conference earlier, the president said even states like Massachusetts had 4 Republican pickups in state legislative races. So, Clarence, same question to both of you. First to you, then to Robin. I think it was a pretty good night for the GOP and the Trump White House.
You know, it was a great night for the Trump White House. I think in terms of the GOP, though, when we get to those House of Representative seats, and you keep hearing this talk about suburban women and all of those things, and some of those suburbs that flipped over to being a Democrat, I think that was largely the fault of the individual candidates themselves and of their campaigns in terms of messaging on the economy, things of that sort. But overall, this was a big night and a victory for the president. It was a big loss for the media and for Obama generally. So I think The president was right today in his press conference. He's strong. He's strong.
Okay, Robin, same question to you, my friend.
Well, let me first off start by saying that President Trump issued he fired a warning shot tweet this morning to all talking heads that we better give him credit. So I'll do just that, and I will give him credit for the 3 Senate seats that they picked up. So, great job there. Clearly, it's very obvious that there is the Trump bump still. It's a
Trump
thing.
bump.
I will say that 21 of the 33 candidates, though, that he did endorse on Twitter ended up losing. But the Trump bump did work in Georgia, it worked in Florida, and it worked in other states and across, several areas across coast to coast as
Indiana,
well.
yes.
So it's still a very real thing. It's something that we've got to deal with. It was a good night for Republicans because basically, I'll say this: we got a blue wave in the House, but they got a big red wall in the Senate. So what it does is it creates some checks and balances. I think at the end of the day, that's really basically just good for America, because I think America really wants some checks and balances in our government. It just makes sense. So I think we're going to be, you're hearing today Nancy Pelosi's press conference and Donald Trump's press conference.
Yes.
Yeah.
They both spoke so much about bipartisanship. So I'm actually, glass half full today on this, that maybe we're actually going to get something done. I'm really hoping that we can work together.
I hope so. Go ahead, Clarence. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're very optimistic. Ed Rendell, former governor of Pennsylvania, great guy, former head of the Democratic National Committee, had a message for the Democrats in the House. He said, legislate, 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 don't investigate, investigate, investigate. And all this talk about bipartisanship, do you really think that Adam Schiff, Maxine Walters, and Elijah Cummings are going to try to want to be bipartisan? No way. The inmates are going to run the asylum over there, and it's going to be hallelujah when 2020, when we'll be running against Maxine and Elijah. You can't keep Adam Schiff from a camera, and the public is going to get very sick and tired of this. It's the same thing that happened back in the 90s when the Democrats went after Clinton. When the Republicans went after Clinton, they went down and Democrats came up. Same thing will happen here.
All right, we're going to talk about Nancy Pelosi. I just want to say one thing. As a conservative, I agree with Robin. If Congress can't do anything, it's better for America. So let's talk about one of Robin's favorite people, Nancy Pelosi, as Speaker of the House, endorsed by Donald Trump. Trump tweeted, quote, "In all fairness, Nancy Pelosi deserves to be chosen Speaker of the House by the Democrats. If they give her a hard time, perhaps we will add some Republican votes. She has earned this great honor." Now, Pelosi says she wants to work with her colleagues across the aisle. So should she get the chance to be the next speaker? Robin, question to you. Well, let's listen to Nancy Pelosi real quick. Let's listen to this.
We will have accountability, and we will strive for bipartisanship with fairness on all sides. We will have a responsibility to find our common ground where we can, stand our ground where we can't, but we must try. We have a bipartisan marketplace of ideas that makes our democracy strong. A Democratic Congress will work for solutions that bring us together.
But right after that call for bipartisanship, she also said she would hold the Trump administration accountable. Let's listen to her again.
Today is more than about Democrats and Republicans. It's about restoring the Constitution's checks and balances to the Trump administration. It's about stopping the GOP and Mitch McConnell's assaults on Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, and the health care of 130 million Americans living with pre-existing medical conditions. Let's hear it more for pre-existing medical conditions.
Boy.
All right, Robin, to you. What I didn't hear Russia, I didn't hear Mueller, I didn't hear subpoena, I didn't hear impeachment. So is this all window dressing? Are all those things simmering below the surface? Or is Pelosi actually able to work in a bipartisan fashion with Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell?
Let's go back to when you remember last year when we had the spending, we needed to appropriate more funds for government spending. She successfully stepped in and negotiated a deal with President Trump to extend the spending bill when Republicans at the end of the day couldn't get it done. So she did it once. I'm not counting her out to do it again. She is, for all of my criticism, I criticize her all the time for lots of reasons. I have my own personal reasons. I just don't like her. But I just don't. I've been plenty of events with her, and just in my as an anecdotal story, she's never interacts with the people. She kind of stays up in the rafters and keeps to herself and treats everybody that's doing all the dirty work like plebeians. And for me, I just don't like that. But at the end of the day, she is a masterful legislator, and she knows how to get the votes. She's also a brilliant fundraiser. She outraised by a margin of 5-1 for the Democratic Party. So we're in a quagmire here with what to do with her now, because a lot of these Democrats that we just elected last night ran by saying that they were going to oppose her candidacy, and now she's going to be, up and coming speaker. What do we do? I'm not sure. We're really going to be stuck here. I'm not sure what the answer is.
All right, Clarence, to you, last 45 seconds.
Okay,
do you think she's going to work in a bipartisan fashion, or is this all about impeachment and subpoenas?
If you notice, we listened to her talk, how quiet it was when they were talking about bipartisanship and common ground, and when she got into the antagonistic language about we're going to get them on this, and that, the people started yelling and screaming. Don't believe a word of what she says about working together. She won't. And the president needs her in 2020. We have to campaign against this woman. So I think he might pull some strings to get her some votes, because we need the Nancy Pelosi factor.
We need a foil. Robin Byro, Clarence McKee, thanks, gentlemen, for being here. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.